My name is Alexa Greenberg. I'm your head of community at Housecall Pro, and I'm also your host for the Home Service Evening Update. I'm joined by Roland, co-founder of Housecall Pro, and Mel, who's our Senior Vice President of People. Over the last 12 weeks, we've been coming at you live every weekday, every Monday through Friday for a while, and then every Monday through Thursday to bring you the state of the world according to the home service industry. And then we have one amazing topic or guest. Tonight is our last live show, and we are going out with a bang with our special guest tonight, Simon Sinek, and we will chat more with him later, but we are so excited for the next chapter of the show. Stick around to the very end. For those of you who want to stay, we're going to bring you on camera with us. I'm going to promote you all the panelists so the three of us can say goodbye properly. We can talk about what's next and have a proper house call goodbye. So stick around to the very end. So like I said, we have Simon joining us tonight. He's the author of multiple best-selling books and has the third most watched TED Talk of all time. Pretty cool. He is sharing how to break out of your finite mindset and adopt an infinite mindset that will allow you to build a stronger, more innovative, and profitable business. So before we get right into that, Mel, over to you for our last state of the world.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Thank you for coming to see our final live broadcast. I'm Melina Fairley, Senior Vice President of People at Housecall Pro. Please do feel free to call me Mel. I've been telling you for weeks that I'm not a news reporter. I just come to you every night and try to give you some key updates. So I will miss being in your homes every night, but here is your evening update for Thursday, June 4th, 2020. So we've been tracking cases every night. We were reporting numbers at the beginning, we were in the hundreds. So we've certainly watched that number and are happy to see it starting to slow down. Last week, nearly 2 million more Americans filed unemployment claims. So it's an enormous number, but nevertheless, it's the lowest since the COVID-19 outbreak began spreading widely in March. So this is leading some to hope that the economy may have stopped its free fall. Also notably, the school year is coming to close for many of us. I know I went to my son's 8th grade middle school drive-through promotion ceremony today. So districts nationwide are trying to figure out what the fall looks like, looking at in-person learning, virtual learning at home, a mix of the two, which is certainly what most people think is going to happen. And today, the White House's leading infectious disease expert, Anthony Fauci, told CNN that public schools might be able to truly reopen in the fall. So in this interview, he said opening schools depends on the level of viral activity and that it's time for us to get creative, reconfiguring classrooms to ensure students are not too close, taking a look at schedules, breaking it up, mornings, afternoons, different days. My 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders are all really looking forward to getting back on campus, but we just don't know what the future holds. And specifically for this audience, for anyone who employs parents, and that's pretty much every business I know, you all know too well that the reliability of your employees is closely linked to their ability to have reliable, safe, trusted childcare or to be able to send their kids off to school every day. So this is certainly going to be a challenging question. And I know that I, as a mother at this time, have more questions than I do answers. So we will look to see what the future holds in store for us and our kids come fall. Alexa?
Thank you, Mel, for our last state of the world. We will continue to keep you guys posted and updated, especially if there's any new changes that happen with the PPP, the EIDL, or any new government funding. Of course, we will stay on top of that. Any other changes that pertain to the home service industry. So thank you, Mel. Let's go ahead and get into the main part of our programming tonight. Mel, over to you. Please introduce Simon to our guest.
Great. Yes, I am so honored to formally introduce tonight's guest, Simon Sinek. Described as a visionary thinker with a rare intellect, he's devoted his professional life to help advance the vision of the world that doesn't yet exist. So this is a world in which the vast majority of people wake up inspired, feel safe wherever they are, and end the day fulfilled by the work that they do. I'm extremely moved by that statement, Simon. So he's also the author of multiple best-selling books. I know many of you are fans. Start with Why, Leaders Eat Last, Together is Better, and The Infinite Game. And he has the third most viewed TED Talk of all times, which I know I watched week 1 at graduate school. So it's certainly something that has longevity. And I can't wait to learn from you tonight, Simon.
Awesome. Well, again, Simon, thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, Roland, can you give Simon a bit of background on our pros and what we've been doing here over the last 12 weeks?
Yeah, definitely. So thanks again for coming on, Simon. I've been a big fan, and I feel privileged to be able to have you on our last episode of this first season. We actually did not know what we were doing when we started this. The coronavirus hit, and we figured, okay, let's do updates, let's disseminate and try to figure out what all this government CARES Act was about as it relates to our customers and small business America. So our crowd is blue collar, HVAC, electricians, plumbers, handyman, essential trades. They're owner operators, they're family businesses, up to 30, 50, 100 trucks. So that's our audience. And we try to make sure that whatever we can talk about today, we kind of have in the context of that, because I feel like for a lot of our people watching, this can be kind of their first exposure to you, to the concepts, to all these things. So we're super grateful to have you on here and just joining us on this public service. And we're going to broadcast this as far as we can after we record this. All right, so let's dive into the first question. So you came out with a new book, and it's called The Infinite Game. And obviously coronavirus hit. And one thing you tell and you talk about in your book is you need to survive. You need to play the long game, the infinite game. So talking about the infinite game, one of the keys, so you kind of broke it down to 5 kind of key things that I need to think about. But the first one is you got to make sure that businesses have that just cause. So how do you explain that, and how would a home service business, a plumber, think about like what's their just cause to start rallying behind, so that way they can play that long game?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for all the kind words. Let me give some context before I answer the question.
Yeah.
What a finite game and what an infinite game is. In the mid-1980s, a philosopher by the name of James Carse articulated these 2 types of games, finite games and infinite games. A finite game was defined as known players, fixed rules, and an agreed upon objective. Football, baseball, there's always a beginning, middle, and an end. And if there's a winner, there has to be a loser. Then you have an infinite game. An infinite game is defined as known and unknown players, which means a new player can join at any time. The rules are changeable, which means you can play however you want. And the objective is to stay in the game, to perpetuate the game. If you think about it, we are players in infinite games every day of our lives. There's no such thing as winning education. Nobody will ever be declared the winner of careers. There's no such thing as winning healthcare or winning global politics. And there's definitely no such thing as winning business. Business is an infinite game. New companies can start and go at any time. You can run your business however you want. But if you listen to the language of so many business people, they talk about being number one, being the best, or beating their competition. Based on what? Based upon what agreed upon objectives, based upon what agreed upon metrics, and based upon what agreed upon timeframes. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to be declared the winner of a game that has no finish line. And the problem is when we play in an infinite game with a finite mindset, we try and win in the game of business when there is no finish line, there's a few consistent and predictable outcomes, amongst which include the decline of trust, the decline of innovation, and the decline of cooperation. And so we've all learned to play to win, except in this game it's different. It's play to survive. It's play to stay in the game. And it became very, very stark in COVID. I thought it was sort of funny because in the infinite game, I talk about that you don't actually have competitors, you want to have rivals. Competitors are other players that you want to beat, but rivals are other players in the game, and some of those rivals are worthy of comparison. And in other words, they're better than you at certain things. And their strengths reveal to you your weaknesses so that you can continue to improve your business and work harder and become a better player. This is what I thought was so interesting about COVID is in the minute COVID struck, literally that day, not a single business was trying to beat their competition. None. Mm-hmm. In other words, it was about survival. But it's always about survival. So we get lazy when times are good. But your question was about the just cause, because the first principle of playing in the infinite game, of adjusting our mindset to play for the game we're actually in, is to have a just cause. This is different than having an annual target. That's a sales target. That's a goal. A just cause is something much bigger. It's an ideal vision of the future that you will use your energy, your effort, and your business to help contribute towards. We all know what a just cause sounds like. Our founding fathers wrote one down for us. All men are created equal, endowed with certain unalienable rights, amongst which include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is an ideal vision of the future that was as relevant 245 years ago as it is today. And it is our endless pursuit to try and get closer and closer to that ideal. We will never get there, but we will die trying. That is the point. And so we as business people, even with small businesses, can have an idealized vision of the future that we want to commit ourselves to. Mel, you said mine. I have a just cause. My just cause is to create a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired, feel safe wherever they are, and end the day fulfilled by the work that they do. And it doesn't matter what I do. All that matters is that everything I do contributes to that. So yes, we have to have a cause that offers a context for all the work we do, something even bigger than the product we offer or the service we provide.
Yeah, and you talk a little bit too, you've done 2 books on it. Obviously, the TED Talk was about finding your why. How do finding your why and your just cause intersect or not? Maybe explain that piece a little bit, because I feel like people will see that on the internet and be like, hold on a minute.
Right. So your why comes from your past. Everybody has a why. Every individual has a why. It's our God-given right. It is who we are. And it is basically an origin story. That's what a why is. So it's the sum total of how we were raised, the things we learned from our parents that made us who we are today. And there's no changing who we are. All that we can do is either be in balance or out of balance. So when you do things inconsistent with who you are, people say things like, it's like I don't know who you are anymore, right? Think of a why like the foundation of a house. It's solid, and everything else gets built on top of that. So if you suffer some sort of tragedy or trauma and things get knocked down, you rebuild on the same foundation. Ancient ruins, we lose the buildings, we always have the foundation. It's the thing we build upon, it's who we are. And the same goes for our businesses. Our businesses have a why. It's why we started them. You know, very few people just open a magazine and said, I think I'd like to do something that has an over 90% chance of failure. That sounds like a good idea. As opposed to just getting a
restaurant.
Right. Most of us who start businesses, there's a reason to take that overwhelming risk of failure. There's a reason that feels worth it, right? That it's worth the sacrifice and the hard work. And it's not just because I want to be my own boss, because sometimes being your own boss is not worth all the extra effort. And sometimes you don't even make as much money. There's something that drives somebody to want to own their own business. That origin story, that reason that compelled you, is the why. So the why comes from the past. It's a foundation we build upon. It is objective. A just cause is about the future. It's about where we're going. It's subjective. We can build any future we want. We can decide the future we want to build and head towards it. Can you change your just cause? I guess you can. I wouldn't change it too often, because then you're a moving target. You can't change your why, the foundation of the house, but you can change the paint on the house. You can change the shutters. You can change if you want to be a big or small house. You can change it at any time, but you still want it going in the same direction built upon that foundation.
That's super helpful.
Mm-hmm. So the next key is fostering a culture of trust among your employees. Why do you think that building this culture of trust among your employees is so important? In this space, in this home service space, there's so much opportunity for this to go wrong. And I really think it's in part because it's almost ingrained in the home service space culture to not trust your employees, because you think that they're going to pick your customers up and they're going to pick up and go leave and start their own business. So I see this really common thread of not trusting your employees. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Human beings are funny animals. We're social animals. And the funny thing is, we all have friends, right? Our friends trust us and we trust our friends. Do we trust that our friends won't steal our friends and take our friends away? You know, do we trust that when our friends make plans with us, they won't cancel on us even if they get a better offer? Now, if we didn't have that deep trust, if we were just acquaintances, they might cancel on us because they got a better offer, right? Trust is a bond. And one of the reasons to build trust and invest in trust is because it might actually be the thing that prevents people from leaving. because they want to either build our business with us or they feel a connection. And most important, they feel that we are looking out for them. They feel that we care about them as human beings. And so they would have no reason to just steal the business if there's a really solid connection based on values. We don't want to just hire people who can do the job. We want to hire people who share our values. If you hire people who just can do the job and you ignore the values, then it's a transactional relationship. And yeah, they might try and steal clients because everything has been transactional. Our relationship with them is transactional, and the relationship with the clients is transactional. So what does a trusting relationship even look like? Why do we need trust, right? Well, we all know what it feels like to be on a trusting team. It means we can say, I made a mistake, or I'm having trouble at home and it's affecting my work, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I need help, or I'm scared, without any fear of humiliation or retribution, without any fear that it'll hurt us at work, but rather we say these things with absolute confidence that our boss or our teammates will rush in to support us. That's what it feels like to be on a trusting team. We also all know what it feels like, know what it feels like not to be on a trusting team, where we would never admit mistakes, we would never ask for help, we would never say we're under stress from home, we would never say we don't know what we're doing, for fear that we will be made fun of, look weak, or that it'll hurt our chances for promotion or to get more business. And so we keep it to ourselves. That doesn't last very long, and that cannot build trust. The irony of trust is it requires vulnerability. And now to many people, when they hear the word you have to be vulnerable at work, first of all, it sends shivers down their spine, or they misunderstand what that means. It doesn't mean walking around crying all day. That's not what it means. What it means is you're willing to admit things you don't know or things that you did wrong. Those are vulnerable expressions. To say, hey, I don't have all the answers. I need help. I cannot do everything alone. Even expressing gratitude when someone helps is an act of vulnerability. Hey, thank you. That turned out better because we did it together. And the more we create these human bonds, the more the people who work with us want to protect us like we protect them, and even want to do right by our clients because it's not selfish anymore.
And I've had this conversation over the weeks with our pros that are tuning in every night that if they do want to start their own business, don't you want to know that? Don't you want to know what they're looking to get out of this employment relationship so that they can leave as an advocate for your business? You can, be eyes wide open and know that you're going to have a nice departure. I tell our employees, we want to be a great place to be from. I worked at Trader Joe's for 15 years. Nobody works anywhere for 15 years anymore, unless you're the family-owned business that gets handed down. So setting that trusting relationship up with employees, doesn't guarantee they're going to be with you forever, but that's not the reality these days anyway. Wouldn't you want to know their goals and what they're working towards so that you can continue to help them achieve them? They're going to be so much more loyal and open with you if they believe that you're invested in them, not just while they're with you, but after they've gone.
So true. And that, by the way, if you create a space in which vulnerability can exist, they're more likely to tell you their plans. But if you create a space where vulnerability cannot exist, they're going to lie to you and say, oh, no, I want to work for you for the rest of my life. I remember in the early days of my career when I was getting a job, in my interview, people said, what are your ambitions? I said, one day to start my own business. I literally sat in my interview and said, one day I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
But that's fine. And that's fine because then if we equip them with all the skills, they may send us business. It just happened to me literally just yesterday where a guy came over to take a look at wallpapering a room for me. And he realized he didn't have the skill set to do the job that I wanted him to do. And so he gave me the number of somebody else. I don't know what their relationship is. So I called the other wallpaper guy today and said, hey, I got your number from Lalo. And he went, wow. I have no idea what their relationship was. But he had this wonderful expression of gratitude that somebody who it doesn't even sound like he's talked to him recently would send him business.
Yeah, I feel like on this trust aspect too, some things that you talk about a lot is just innovation. And I feel like especially during, this pandemic and everything that's going on, the businesses that are constantly innovating are the ones that are not only staying alive, but thriving. How do you see that trust and innovation? And what advice would you give a company to build it in such a way that, everyone in the company is willing to kind of come to the table with ideas and things to try?
Okay, there's a lot there. So there's a pattern I have seen in the companies that are having an easier time with pivoting in COVID, and the companies that are really struggling with pivoting in COVID. The ones that are really struggling have put themselves at the center of the equation. We have to survive. We need to get more money. We're going to go out of business, right? The ones that are having a better time of pivoting are the ones that have put the customer at the front of the equation, which is people still need us. We offer something that's still valuable. How are we going to figure out a way to get them what they need? And if you see the difference in that, one is kind of based on panic, and the other one is more likely to produce innovation because you're thinking, how can we help get what we have to the people who need what we have? And there's the innovation, right? Mm-hmm. And when you ask your team to contribute to that, the ideas are remarkable. So we did with our team, and we have a small team. We asked every one of our team members, I told them the vision, I told them where we want to go. I said, how are we going to get there? And I asked every single team member to bring 15 ideas each to the table in 48 hours. Okay, why 15? Because 3 or 4 ideas, I came up with those ideas. Those are the ideas that I had, right? We all came up with the same superficial ideas. Those were the easy ones. The real thinking starts at 9, 10, and 11. And when we all came together to present them, and if groups wanted to work in teams, I was fine with that too. But when we came together to report out, I explained to everyone that this was about contribution, not competition. I didn't care if one person had 6 great ideas and another person had none, because their 6 great ideas are going to keep this company going. Say thank you. It's about contribution, not competition. Not to mention the fact that idea people may not be the best executors. And the people who aren't idea people are probably better executors. So yeah, I got 6 great ideas here, and now I need you to bring these ideas to life. It's actually going to be a great team and a great partnership. That's usually how it works out. And I said that out loud. I said, I'm going to look to the people who are probably better executors, but not necessarily the idea people, to jump right in after this meeting. And what turned out was it was fantastic. Everybody +1 each other's ideas, and by the end, nobody could take ownership of any of the ideas. It was really fantastic. I'll give you one example of my favorite pivot that's happened in COVID. There's a pizza store in Chicago called Demo's Pizza. They made 70% of their revenues from selling slices. Well, ain't no selling slices anymore. They weren't equipped for delivery and all of that thing. They were a slice joint. So of course they shut their doors like every other restaurant. And they looked at the resources they had. They have a pizza oven. Now, if they grounded themselves in panic and all of this stuff, right? They would look at their pizza oven and think, all we can do is make pizzas. That's what it does. It's a pizza oven. But that's not what they saw. They said, a pizza oven, what else can a pizza oven do? It's a resource. And they realized a pizza oven can heat hotter than a regular oven, and it can actually heat hot enough to bend industrial grade plastic. They started buying plastic and melting it, bending it, and making face shields, PPP, to sell to hospitals. Pizza joint using its pizza oven to make PPP. Brilliant.
Yeah. I feel like that's a mind-blown moment.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Use this other than like dough and marinara, sign me up.
That's right.
So the part about letting your employees be vulnerable, it really stood out to me, because I feel at Housecall there definitely is a culture of that here. But with our pros, I feel like when you don't allow that circle of vulnerability, you're absolutely hindering the innovation in your company. Those people aren't going to bring forward those amazing ideas. You're not going to have that tech raise its hand and say, hey, this particular service, it's actually coming off really weird when I'm trying to sell it to our customer. They're not going to raise their hand. You're not going to have that office staff who raises their hand and says, hey, this part of the script, I'm actually getting a lot more no's than yeses. They're just going to continue on doing it. So having that circle of trust, having vulnerability with your employees and also your customers too is so important. I hope everyone takes note of that tonight.
And there's some very simple things we can do to start to build trust. And by the way, everybody knows how to do it. If you've ever made a friend who's fallen in love, you know how to do it. Sometimes it's quick and sometimes it's slow, but it's not immediate. And it requires work. It always requires work. So here's some simple things to build trust. if you see somebody struggling or having a hard time, instead of yelling at them, lean up and say, hey, looks like you're struggling. You okay? What's going on? Right? Super easy. If something went wrong, show up with curiosity rather than anger. Hey, what happened? Hey, in the future, if something goes wrong, call me. I'll help. But if there's no trust, they're not going to call. They're going to hide the mistake. If you want to give negative feedback, do it at the end of the job, not in the middle. So, for example, if something goes wrong in the middle, you don't, in the middle of the job, say, don't do it that way. I told you it'll work better this way. Wait till the end when you're driving and say, hey, can we let's break that down. You know, what we like to do is we go, what sucked and what sucked less. And you start craving the feedback at the end of the job, because the whole idea is, how can we make the next job better? That's an infinite mindset. The whole point of an infinite mindset is we want to make every job we work on better than the previous job. Well, the only way you're going to make your next job better than the previous one is if you're brutally honest about what you can do better. Not what did you do wrong, what can we do better? And remember that the people are not the problem, the people have a problem if something keeps recurring. So there's some simple things that we can do and some simple things that we can remember. And also, by the way, to ask for feedback. To ask our team, tell me what sucks and what sucks less. What can I do better? So we want to create the environment in which the exchange of feedback goes both ways.
Those are some really actionable tips there, especially the feedback one. Mel was the one who taught me about feedback, how it can be constructive in our management training. And it's something that I try to use every day, not only in work, but also in like my personal relationships. And it has really been a game changer.
Yeah, we also use good, bad, and ugly retrospectives. So at the end of a project or at the end of what we call an iteration, we go back and everybody puts all of them on the board. And at the end of it, especially in the early days, we'd always go have beers afterwards, just go rebuild it. But it was all within kind of that circle of trust to get that all on the board so we can do way better the next time, so we can keep incrementally improving. And that compounds over time. And that is how you play the infinite game.
The better you get, the more likely you are to stay in the game.
Yep.
Exactly. So in this game and in the home service industry, there is so much stark competition between people. At Housecall, I think we've done a really spectacular job at creating a really amazing community, both online and offline, through this and through Facebook groups, through events. And so you see a lot of people within the same trades in the same area. Why do you think it's important for them to have a worthy rival and be motivated by worthy rivals? And how would you go about learning from them?
So the most important thing in the infinite game is to recognize that there's enough business for all of us to do well. Right? And in the infinite game, so in a finite game, the game ends, but the players continue to live on. So the Yankees will play the Red Sox, the game ends, but the Yankees and Red Sox continue to exist until they play another game. In the infinite game, it's the opposite, which is in the game of business, it's the players who drop out. We call it bankruptcy, or we call it retirement. But the game continues with you or without you, which means players can come and go at any time. And there's enough business for all of us. In other words, the bad ones will drop out, right? And so the whole point of a worthy rival is because if ours is a game of constant improvement, then a worthy rival, as I said before, their strengths reveal to us our weaknesses. Maybe somebody's marketing is better than yours. Maybe somebody's customer service is better than yours. Maybe someone's product is better than yours. Their service is physically better than yours. That means you got to up your game. Maybe someone's staying in contact with the latest technology, the latest trends in the business. Maybe you're behind. So these are not things to undermine them and try and beat them. These are things to say, I got to do better, right? And we've seen this happen in industries that they don't view competition as a worthy rivalry. I'll give you a couple of fantastic examples. So in the early days when Starbucks started to become a thing, it was heavily, heavily criticized for putting mom and pop coffee shops out of business, right? If you remember what coffee shops used to be prior to Starbucks, it was like the college campus. It was like the ripped couch and, a couple tie-dye t-shirts, and that was a coffee shop. When Starbucks moved into a neighborhood, it actually did not put mom and pops out of business. It's the ones who refuse to up their game. It's the ones who refuse to compete that went out of business. Because Starbucks would come in, and what they found was mom and pops actually did better for a couple of reasons. One, there was a groundswell to support the mom and pop, but also it brought new customers in. That was number one. Number two, the ones that went out of business because they refused to get rid of that ripped couch. Starbucks brought a beautiful store and they still had a ripped couch. And so instead they complained and blamed Starbucks for putting that out of business. Most bankruptcies are acts of suicide, right? Not all, but very often, if you do the post-mortem, you find out it was someone who got angry rather than simply upping their game. That's the value of competition. Starbucks revealed to them that they had an opportunity to offer better product, and those who did fine. That is the value of worthy rivalry.
Yeah, I feel like Ian, who's my co-founder, he would always tell us in the early days, when we were working out of his apartment, he's like, Roland, you know what? Startups die by suicide and not homicide. So all we got to do is just survive. And every funding round, when that cash burn goes down, it's like, okay, we got to just figure out a way to just survive. And we've always done it. And it was kind of those words, which is exactly what you're saying.
And you don't have to like them, you don't have to agree with them, but you do have to respect them. And as we're going through it now, we're looking at people who are doing the same things as us as we're attempting to pivot. And instead of getting angry because they're so much better than us, if you have a visceral response to a competitor, it's probably because they're touching a nerve, and that's the thing you want to explore. But we look at them and go, oh my God, they're so good at that. All right, guys, how are we going to up that? It becomes a rallying cry.
Absolutely.
You mentioned we're clearly in a time of uncertainty. I mean, this is completely unprecedented, right? You've got a global pandemic. I mean, you couldn't make up a longer list if you tried. Global pandemic, unprecedented unemployment. All of us working from our dining room tables. Some of us with 4 kids at home who schools are closed. And a mobilized and impassioned movement in the streets right now. So this is such a unique moment. And with this audience, what do you want the world to hear right now in this moment? And how is that message different than it's been before?
So I think it's really funny that, and I'm hearing this all the time, people saying in these uncertain times, all times are uncertain, always. Every time we've ever lived in has always been uncertain. It's only because something sudden happened that it reminded us that time is uncertain.
Yep.
And when we start to falsely believe that time is certain, i.e. good times, this is when we're vulnerable. We've had the luxury to be stupid. We made stupid business decisions, we wasted money, we went through employees, we went through clients, whatever, there's tons of more, right? That's called running a bad business, but if you're doing well or times are good, we have that luxury. Times are always uncertain. And so building a good business, do you plan for your house to burn down? Nope. Do you have insurance? Yep. Why? Just in case. Well, that's how you build a good business. Mm-hmm. You try as best as you can and so if you have a great year, instead of spending all the money and giving all the money in bonuses, hold some back. We had a great year. We're gonna put some in savings. We're gonna share some of it, and we're gonna put some of it in savings for when we have a bad year, because we don't know. It's uncertain. Also, trust. It's much easier to build in good times than in bad times. We cannot judge the quality of a crew by how they perform in calm waters. We judge the quality of a crew by how they perform in rough waters. But we build the crew in the calm waters. I've seen this mistake over and over again. I spoke to a company, and I remember one of the executives raised his hand when I was talking about leadership, and he says, first of all, Simon, we don't have time for this. This is war. I had to correct him and explain to him that this wasn't war and no one was going to die. And the worst case scenario was that he would lose a large company some money, but no one's dying. So once we corrected his metaphor, I appreciated that. I said to him, I appreciate that you have no time to do this leadership thing and build trust now because it's so, because of the war. My question to you is, what were you doing in the good times? Like, what were you doing? Like, why weren't you building your teams? Shame on you. So again, if our crew is really struggling in this rough waters, my question to us is, if we survive this, maybe it's a lesson learned that we need to up our leadership game once the water gets a little calmer. Or right now.
Now.
Yeah, now and consistently, and then kind of towards
now
the future.
Continue it. Yeah.
Like
the leadership game now and keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah, all of it. And Simon, what would you say, to those that are angry and who are fed up and who are frustrated? I think, every single time I've ever watched anything that you've spoken about, read about, your new podcast, a bit of optimism. How
Somebody
do
listen to
you?
it. That's amazing.
Yeah,
But
of course. Yeah, and it was all about relationships. And actually, your friends seem like really fun people to hang out with. And the glass of water metaphor was great. And getting kind of net neutral, net positive. But how do you what kind of advice do you give to stay optimistic and to practice being more optimistic and kind of switching, something that could be so dark, what kind of advice do you give to someone to kind of get into that mindset?
Well, first of all, again, I'll go back, you'll hear me say this 100 times. We're social animals. We need each other. We are not that strong and we are not that smart by ourselves. We cannot lift heavy weights or solve complex problems alone, but we can do anything in groups. Again, this is why trust matters. It's because we want to work with each other. And so it's much easier to stay optimistic if you have someone who believes in you, who has your back, and likewise that you have the back of someone else. I'll tell you a true story. So when I was writing Leaders Eat Last, it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I couldn't do it. It was overwhelming. And it got to the point I'd missed so many deadlines, and so I decided to give up. And I remember I went for a walk and I was planning my exit, right? I was literally going through the checklist of the things that I have to do to end this. So I'd have to give my advance back to the publisher, right? Because technically I'd be in breach of contract. Check, I can do that. I would be humiliated. I was preparing myself mentally, right? I'd have to tell everybody I couldn't finish the project. And I rationalized it that I would get over it. I rationalized that it was okay to quit. There's tens of thousands of books published every year. No one's going to miss one more book, right? And was literally quitting, prepared. And I'm not sure why, but I called a friend of mine who at the time was in the Air Force Special Forces. And I don't even think I said hello. He picked up the phone and I asked one question. I said, "What do you do when you can't complete the mission?" And as is his nature, he started telling me a story. And he told me a story. He was a helicopter pilot. He told me a story about when they were in Afghanistan. There was a mission that was a suicide mission. It was like all of the intelligence said that they were going to get shot down. And this was not like a kill Hitler, like they would get shot down, but they would kill Hitler. This is like you would get shot down and the mission would fail. It was just a pointless waste of life. And they were prepping their helicopters to go. And his wingman turned to him and said, "What do we do? We've got wives, we've got kids. Do we refuse to go?" Mm-hmm. And my friend turned to his wingman and said, "This is what we signed up for. We go." So he said to me, "Is this book more or less powerful than Start With Why?" I said, "It's affected me deeper than Start With Why." He goes, "Okay, funny story for you. Before I met you, I was ready to quit the Air Force. I was disillusioned, and I read this crazy, kooky little book that completely inspired me and to stay in and up my leadership game." He says, "If you're telling me that this book has had a more profound effect on you," he says, then you have to finish this book. He said, "This is what you signed up for. You have no choice." And he wasn't screaming at me or yelling at me. What he was basically saying is, "I got you. I'm here for you, and I'll be here no matter what." I turned around, went back to my desk, and finished my book. Not that night, but I stuck with it. And it's that mentality. When somebody says to us, "I believe in you. I got your back. You got to do this. I'm here with you." Or if there's a moral or ethical challenge, which is you have to do the right thing. Hearing someone say that to us is what gives us the courage, is what gives us the optimism, is what gives us the drive. Because if left to our own devices, the narratives can play a horrible, horrible game on us. We can get stuck in our heads, and that's self-destructive. At the risk of beating a dead horse, I'll tell you another story about narrative. You can interrupt me at any time.
We love stories. Keep going. Stories are the best.
So just about a week ago, I was working out with a friend of mine on FaceTime. We just do the same thing. We just work out together because I have no motivation by myself. And it was a particularly difficult workout. And I said to her, "I've got some good news and I've got some bad news." She said, "Well, what's the bad news?" I said, "The bad news is we're only halfway done." She says, "Well, what's the good news?" I said, "The good news is we're already halfway done." And if you think about it, think about when something's difficult, you go, "Oh, I'm only halfway done." Literally, it's demoralizing. Like I have to do this more. When you say, I'm already halfway done, literally every step is like, oh my God, I've already finished the majority. And that simple mind shift profoundly changes the manner in which we approach the work. And that is the value of having another human being in your life who believes in you and supports you.
Yeah. And I feel like we can all do a better job at that, you know, with everything going on.
For sure.
Yeah, the world needs more of it.
So people like this, people who are optimistic, those are the people that are inspiring those around them. And in addition to being optimistic, an aspect that you talk about is great companies have high empathy. To be a successful human, you have to have high empathy. To have true impact, you have to have high empathy. But it might be hard to figure out how to have high empathy for those who you don't necessarily agree with or don't understand. So how do we practice empathy with a group or with a person that we don't understand?
Well, so empathy is the willingness and desire to try to understand. And even at the end, you don't have to agree, you don't have to like, but you do have to understand, right? I mean, these current times are a great example, right? Which is when we see somebody get irate, we don't have to agree, but we can learn to understand where the anger comes from. And that's more important, because what that does is it makes us curious about the story. And that's all people really want to feel. People want to feel heard and feel understood, right? And that's what empathy is. It's going on the journey with someone to the point where they feel that you have heard them, where they feel heard, right? And repeating their words back to them is not, there's a difference between hearing and listening, right? Repeating someone's words back to them just says, yeah, I heard superficially what you told me. Look, I can parrot it back to you. That's not listening. Listening is when somebody else feels heard. And that means you can say back to them in your own language, in your own words, what you think they're trying to say. Or you can say, boy, if that had happened to me, I'd be angry too. The great irony of this skill, and it is a skill, is it's a skill that parents have to learn, right? We know that just yelling at a kid won't work, but to sit down with a kid and be like, tell me how you're feeling. What's making you angry is what we say to our children, and it calms them down and they try and explain it to us. One of the best books you can read on how to do this is a book called How to Talk to Kids So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. It's a bright yellow book. Yes, it's a parenting book, but it's one of the best books on how to learn to communicate to adults too. So empathy is the desire and willingness to try and understand someone. A Marine Corps general of mine told me, he gave me a great example of what empathy is. He says, if you ask someone how they're doing, you have to care about the answer.
I feel like that's a great quote, definitely to live by, especially just feeling, that someone feels heard. So
I think to echo on that, a challenge that I have Mel, Roland, and Simon, for everyone watching tonight, have empathy, practice empathy, and really want to understand the person that you're talking to. Don't just go in there one-sided. This is about all types of conversations, about all types of topics. Like Simon said, it's a skill. Some of us may have a little bit of it more naturally than others, but practice your skill of empathy every day.
And it's very easy to start those conversations, easier than you think. And the way to start an empathetic conversation is to start with vulnerability. Those conversations start with, I'm stuck, or I'm struggling to understand, or I need to learn more, or I want to know how you feel. Like, that's how you start those conversations. You start those conversations literally by expressing where you're stuck, where you cannot see further. I realize I have a narrative that's informing everything I'm looking at, and I realize it's tainting everything that you're saying to me, and I need to put it aside for a minute because I'm stuck, because I want to hear you, and I don't know how. I know that if I shut up right now and try and listen, will you help me? And that is an incredibly powerful way to start a conversation.
All right. So I feel like we've got a lot of questions that people are looking to ask, because you've inspired, I think, and blown a lot of minds here. So let's see here. Mel, would
Yeah.
you like to jump in and
I've been
go through kind of
the questions. So, okay, here's one from Michelle Bonner. She's been here with us since the very beginning. I think she's here every night. She says, Simon, I would imagine that, like the Rolling Stones get sick of singing Satisfaction, you might be a bit done with helping people find their why. Or do you find a renewed passion with the years? What do you know now about helping people find their why that you didn't know in 2009 when your book was published?
So
it's like 3 questions in one.
I want to get them all in.
Yeah.
So a little bit like the Rolling Stones, there is a difference between giving the why talk and helping people find their why. I'm sick of giving the why talk. I don't give the why talk anymore. I love it. I believe in it. I live by it, but I've done it hundreds of times. I just can't do it anymore. And besides, I would rather talk about something new than something that's 13, 14 years old. You know, I want to talk about what I'm trying to think about rather than stuff that I've already thought about. However, helping someone find their why is a service. And I can never get tired of that, because literally to see someone light up when they learn their why is absolutely magical. So they're very, very different things for me. They're very, very different things.
Michelle's smart to ask 3 questions in one. She's been here with us too long.
Did I forget to answer one of them? What was there, another one in there?
No, I think, well, how do you find renewed? I know.
Yeah, the renewed passion question, part of it.
The renewed passion. Yeah. So again, it's looking forwards, not backwards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one thing about an infinite mindset, a finite mindset is afraid of surprises and sees opportunity as a threat, and that's why a finite mindset tries to make timeframes much shorter because you have more control. A finite mindset wants to exert control, command and control, doesn't like to trust people, doesn't like to give authority because I don't like surprises, right? And this is like, think of an athlete, right? They practice so that anything that could happen, they've already prepared for it. Why? Because they don't want any surprises. The thinking has been done in the past. And things that happen new, then things can go crazy, right? An infinite mindset is the total opposite. An infinite mindset views surprises as an opportunity, views uncertainty as something that is exciting and inspiring, creative. It's a creative opportunity. The thinking hasn't happened. The thinking has to start happening. And so for me, what keeps me invigorated is I would much rather think about and talk about things I don't know about than think about and talk about things. Of course, I'm not an expert. I'm still a student. There's more to learn, but I know more of that than I do of this. And I love a steep learning curve.
Mm-hmm. There you go. This one is from Robin, who is huge fan of yours. She's been with us since the first broadcast, and when we said that you're coming on the show, she had to freak out in the best way possible. So Robin, Simon, when you have a team you want to encourage to work on their strengths, what key things do you utilize to encourage, shape, and uplift your team?
Well, number one is giving them positive feedback about their strengths and saying that I value those strengths. And because if I can recognize what their strengths are, then they're much more open to me saying, "Hey, can I give you some feedback of where I think you can get even better too?" Right? Also, we're all very, very aligned around what the cause is. We are all here for the same reason. That thing out there on the horizon, and I talk about it obsessively. And we make decisions based on it. And we make difficult decisions based on it. And we make values-based decisions. So I make decisions that are actually bad for the company's financial standing in the short term, but are the right thing to do ethically, and they see me make those decisions, right? Because I'm trying to make decisions that are the right decisions for the long term, and doing the right thing really matters. And so when people work for a company that's a value-based organization, and they bring the same values to bear, it helps us all want to up our game, you know? It helps us all want to show up, because not showing up is actually letting the team down. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing about me. They don't want to let each other down more than they don't want to let me down. It's really become that it's way more about each other.
the thing I want to drive home with that is home service companies can be value-based companies. So they should be value-based companies. The services and products you provide, no matter what they are, whether you're fixing a toilet, you're scrubbing a carpet, or you're painting a wall, what are your values? I think that is super important, and especially in the service industry, you're just thinking about the job at hand, the transactional aspect of it, but it is truly so much more than that. And we really challenge this group to figure out, why do they stick out? Why do they rise above their competition? It's because you guys genuinely care, and it's probably because you're values-based.
And don't worry about the product. I get this criticism a lot, which is, sure, if you work for Apple, it's easy to inspire people. It's a glamorous industry. Clean carpets and fix toilets. How is that glamorous? I don't get excited by that every morning, right? Well, most of us, the careers we have by accident. You had a summer job just to make a little extra cash, helping your dad's friend who was a plumber. Congratulations, you're a plumber for the rest of your life, right? It's like most of us, these aren't our childhood dreams. In fact, unless you're an astronaut, none of us are kind of doing our childhood, right? We all kind of fell into our careers.
Very true.
And it's not the stuff that we're doing that where we build a great thing. We could say, everyone who works with me will love working with me. Everyone who works with me will go home feeling like they're growing as a human being and that they matter. It has nothing to do with it. One of the best companies I ever interacted with years ago was a company called the Luck Companies. Do you know what they do for a living? Quarries.
Fun.
They smash rocks.
Yeah. Dig holes.
Right? There are guys nobody's got a college education. They got GEDs, maybe high school educations, and they smash rocks for a living, right? And I sat around with a bunch of their employees, many of them hourly workers, and there was a guy who fit every stereotype that you would imagine. He was big guy in overalls and a baseball cap and beard, and I'm sure his name was Bubba. I mean, every stereotype, he fit it, And I said, why do you like working here? And this is the answer I got. Not even joking. He looked at me, he said, well, what I've really learned is how to express myself emotionally. And it's been really powerful for me, because not only have I been able to express myself emotionally at work, but it's really helped me have a better relationship with my wife and my kids. That's because that company has training to teach people how to express themselves emotionally, because from a work standpoint, if people can ask for help and say, I made a mistake, it makes the work product better. Turns out, it also makes you a better human being.
Yeah.
If you're providing training, why not have a book club where you all read a chapter a week, and on Fridays, when you're having lunch, you talk about the chapter you read last week. That's called leadership training. Why not watch a TED Talk? Takes 18 minutes. And then for the rest of the hour while you're having lunch, you talk about it. And why not sit around on every Monday and say, what's on your heart? What's on your mind? This is not about work. Let's have a Monday morning huddle every Monday where the whole purpose is just to check in. Tell us what you did this weekend. What's on your heart? What's on your mind? And what you're going to start to do is create a space where human beings can be human beings. And they're going to up their game. And it doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't matter what the service is. It's about the human beings who are coming to work with you and going home. How do they feel?
I love that. I think everyone wants to work with Simon right now. I have a question here from one of my coworkers, Andrea Lynch. She says, for Simon, do you have a favorite leader you've interacted with? Why did you respect them as a leader?
Oh, so they threw me a curveball there. They said, that you've interacted with.
Ooh. Good job, Andrea.
Yeah, well done. There's a couple, yeah, of course. Some of my favorite leaders that I've interacted with, I ended up writing about them because I met them and I was so impressed by them and I wanted to learn from them. So I ended up wanting to share the lessons that I've learned about from them. So I wrote extensively in Leaders Eat Last about a man named Bob Chapman. He runs a manufacturing company, good old fashioned, American manufacturing, blue collar, not glamorous, but he's created a space where everybody wants to come to work there, feel safe. If you ask Bob, what does your company do? He doesn't say, oh, we do manufacturing. He says, we build great people to do extraordinary things. And he says, we measure success by how we touch the lives of our people. And Bob is a magical human being. I've learned so much from him, and thank goodness, I'm so grateful to have him in my life. I've written about Johnny Bravo, an Air Force officer who risked his life to save the lives of others. That selflessness and putting other people at the center of the equation has been absolutely inspiring, absolutely inspiring. But I tend to be drawn to people who show up in service and have a servant's heart, regardless of what they do. And I'm drawn to people who have the humility to say, I don't know. I remember there was I was an Air Force general I met who was given a job that was outside what they call their MOS, outside of his, he was trained to do one thing and they told him to lead something completely different. It's like your whole life you've been a plumber and now you're running a team of wallpaper people, right? So what I loved about him is I sat down with him and he goes, man, I don't know anything about this job. That's why I have to rely on all the smart people around me, because everybody here, at every rank beneath me knows way more about this job than I do. My job is to learn from them and my job is to clear a path for them. Love that. In fact, sometimes it's better to lead people you don't know the job, because you can't be like, well, I know how to do your job better than you, because you don't know.
You get out of the way.
Because
that's what let them go.
We forget that. Leadership is not about the results. Leadership is about taking care of the people who are responsible for the results.
Absolutely.
If you're no longer doing the plumbing, you're now leading the people who do the plumbing. Your job is not to make sure the toilet works. Your job is to make sure that the people feel cared for who are making sure the toilet works.
I think that's super valuable advice for all of the home services people who are owner operator trying to get their first employees, and they're like, no, but I want this. How do you relinquish the kind of control and just empower them to go do it? That's
build a company if you're the best at everything. Yep. Because then just go do it yourself.
Relinquish control, pros.
Having gone through it, letting go is so freaking hard. I do it in baby steps. I found myself, I think, apologizing, saying to people, hey, I built this business by myself. This was my story. I used to do every job. So when people pretend that I don't know what I'm doing, I used to do every job. And I would say to them, I'm learning to let go. Please be patient with me. I'm going to try. Mm. And once I learned to let go, oh my God, it's the best thing in the world.
All right, Simon. I
want to be respectful of your time, though, because we said we would stop at 6. Do you have a few extra minutes to spend with us?
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Okay. Do you have the next couple hours to spend with us? I got some.
Well done, Alexa.
Thank you.
All right. I got a question I got to ask Simon. So, Simon, obviously you have a new podcast called A Bit of Optimism. I want to know, what is your why and what's the just cause of it? So foundation, and where are you headed with it?
So
only one episode in, so.
It's okay. The podcast is a what to my why, right? So it's no different than anything else that I do. My why is to inspire people to do the things that inspire them. So together, each of us can change our world for the better. That's my why, right? So everything I do has to be built on a foundation of inspiration and optimism. That's why we called it A Bit of Optimism, right? And I made a choice of how I was going to approach it, which is I didn't want to just interview accomplished people and be like, so tell us how you did that. That's important. There's plenty of that out there. I wanted to call people and talk about things that weren't their industry. So you talk about our first episode with Will Gradera and Christina Tosi. These are two of the best restaurant and hospitality people in the world. Will Gradera is the owner of 11 Madison Park, which was the best restaurant in the entire world. And Christina Tosi is the founder of Milk Bar, which is the best desserts in the entire world.
Yeah.
And they're a couple. They're a power couple.
Right. They're a couple. And I didn't talk to them at all about restaurants or the hospitality industry. We talked about relationships. That's all. Yeah. Because I wanted their point of view. And the cause, remember, my cause is to create a world in which everyone feels inspired, safe, and fulfilled. So I'm picking subjects that we need to learn so that we can get to inspired, safe, and fulfilled. And if you want that, learning how to have better relationships is definitely one of those skills. So I'm choosing topics that advance the cause and it's built on a foundation of inspiration and optimism. So it's just one of the what's to my why.
So you guys that are all watching this, if you're curious, the first episode already has me hooked. So just go do it. I like to use Overcast for all my podcasts. So if you want an app suggestion, use that one. Just hit that subscribe. I enjoyed that first one, and there's so many good quotes on there. So Simon, one thing I like to ask all the guests, and this is how we started this whole process to get through all these episodes. So I have to ask you, you are the final guest of our season 1.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now and the questions that we ask in our audience, who within your network that you know, would you be able to introduce us to that would be the first guest when we open up for season 2, starting in early July?
I have some people in mind.
Okay. You have one in particular that jumps out?
I have to ask them first.
Oh, fair enough. Maybe we'll show them what we did here, and hopefully they'll feel inspired and be like, you know what, this sounds like a great time.
Yeah, sure. I have some good people in mind. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. When Roland asked Jocko, he like almost jumped through the screen and he was like, nice try, Roland. I'm not going to tell you. So thank you for being nicer to Roland. Jocko was. And to wrap us up here, we want to end. We'd love if you could leave our audience with a parting thought. What's the one actionable thing our pros can do tomorrow to change their business, change their lives?
So I'm a great believer in that nothing that matters in the world ever gets done without a group of people who care. Nothing. And so one thing we can do tomorrow is ask somebody how they're doing. We talked about it before. How are you? How are you feeling? You know, this is a tumultuous time. A tumultuous time. Between pandemics and having a mirror shown to us of who we really are in this nation, which is unbelievably uncomfortable. This is a ripe time for some uncomfortable conversations, and it's a ripe time to create a safe space for people to have those uncomfortable conversations without judgment. And so those conversations can start either individually or as a group, and to just ask people to say, how do you feel?
And there's no better way to end it that. And remember, if you are asking someone how they feel, you have to actually care about how they feel. That's your challenge for tomorrow. And
anything they feel is valid.
Even if you don't agree with it.
Agree or disagree with their feelings.
So important. You have to care. Or don't have the conversation until you can figure out how to care for that person and how they feel.
Remember, the standard is not when you understand. The standard is when they feel heard.
Absolutely.
The highest standard.
We are doing a book giveaway tonight. We have loved doing these when we've had incredible authors and speakers. So Roland, how do our viewers tonight claim their free copy of Simon's most recent book? Okay,
so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play a game, and we're gonna involve Simon. So we haven't done this before with a guest, but we're gonna have Simon give us a prompt. Simon says, here we go. Simon says, he's like, I've heard that one before. That wasn't too funny.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I need Alexa. It's fine. We're there. We're together. It's fine.
It's true. Okay. So what I want to have is a question that the pros, the audience members should answer and text to myself. I'm going to give my cell phone number out. They're going to text the answer to this question. Everybody that answers it validly, okay, or invalidly, but it has to be thoughtful. We will go find a local bookstore and go send them a book from that local bookstore.
So
what question they have to answer? Okay,
but is it like a trivia question, or is it like a question that requires
we did one previously where we said, what are you grateful for?
That you judge the quality of the answer.
No. Well, the quality of the answer, it should be candidly answered.
It should be something that can be right or wrong.
No math problems, though, for most of us in this group.
One question we asked on a previous one is, what are you grateful for? That was one that we had.
So something subjective.
Following now, he's tracking.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What is so important about your business that it's worth all the struggle and sacrifice to stay in business.
I'm writing that down.
All right, we're going to type that in here, and we're going to type it in Facebook Live here, and I know my phone's going to blow up here in a second because everyone's going to want a copy of the Infinite Game.
By the way,
for sure.
We've talked about the why. We in our pivot, because we made most of our money from most of our income from live events. Can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So we actually did this. We did the same thing, a little bit of the same thing as that pizza place. We're like, all right, what do we have? How do we get it out to people? And of course, online learning is a place that a lot of people are going, but it was really important for us to do live events because we wanted to create this human connection. We have to still stick to our values. So ours is all live classes. All of our online classes are live, real human interaction. You show up on time. They're not recorded. And one of the classes we have is called Jumpstart Your Why. And it's to help people find their why. And because we don't know where people are in their lives and we don't know if people got laid off or furloughed or where they are, we've made it pay what you can. And so if anybody wants to actually go learn your why, if you go to our website, sign up for a Jumpstart Your Why. It's a phenomenal course. I'm so proud of our team. This is one of the ideas that came out of the idea session. They took a full day in-person workshop and they made it into a 2-hour online class. I'm so proud of them.
So the question is, what is so important about your business that it is so important to stay in business? Did I say that correctly?
What is so important about your business that it's worth all the sacrifice to keep going? Because very often it's easier to just go get a job.
All right. Roland, are you putting your text in the chat? Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah, we're trying to put the number with the question here so we can put it into here.
There we go.
Actually goes to Roland's phone, everyone.
Yeah.
Roland, you sent that to me. You have to address to everyone.
Hold on. All right. Here, hold on. I'm going to put my phone on silent. Otherwise, it's going to go nuts. But this is way easier to track on my phone than any other way of people like sending emails and all this kind of stuff.
We've tried it all. We encourage innovation.
Yep. And if you need to think about it a little bit, feel free to think about it before you send me the answer. You don't have to do it now. We're going to keep this going. So if you guys are watching this later when we syndicate this back out, you can still do this.
Offer still stands. So Simon, thank you so much.
Why do we have to end? I'm having so much fun.
Okay.
Ooh,
so what did you have for lunch today, Simon?
Take another audience Q&A. Well, let's take one more question.
Can I ask a question because it's from my mom?
Sure.
Go for it.
Cindy Rainey says, tell us about a mistake you're ultimately glad you made.
I mean, not to sound cheesy. I mean, like, every mistake is kind of, at some point, even if I can't see it in the moment, there's a lesson. The thing that I don't like is when I repeat mistakes.
The worst.
The specific mistake that I've made that I'm glad happened. I mean, there's a few stories that are running through my head. I'll give you one. The one that popped into my head. It goes back many years. Debating between two of them. You have to wait while I'm thinking. That's the worst part, right? So here's the one I'll share. I'll show the shorter one. So I was a junior guy in a company, and the senior client came to visit, and all of the senior people in my company, had the meeting with the senior client, and I was invited to the meeting to run the PowerPoint. That was my job, and they were doing all kinds of things and discussing the account, and I kept contributing. Because I was on the front lines every day, I actually knew more than most of the people in the room. I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I just knew the answers that they didn't know. So I kept volunteering information in the meeting. When the meeting was done, one of the senior partners, who was like my work mom, she put her arm around me as we were walking out the door, and she said one sentence to me that stuck with me for the rest of my life. She said, 3/4 of an answer is better than an answer and a half. And I have learned not to overtalk too much. My answers are not a good example. But like I will often find myself sitting in meetings now, and like I could add one more thing just to make it a little more accurate, but I don't. And now I catch other people, like the meeting is done and somebody, somebody's answered the question. And somebody says, I just want to build on what Steve said. You're like, just don't, don't build on what Steve said. Just keep it to yourself, because 3/4 of an answer is better than an answer and a half.
That's a great piece of advice. I feel like, Roland, you and I need to
Guilty. Good piece of advice right here.
Right now I'm being very choice with my words now.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. I mean, Roland, do you have like one last crazy question for Simon? Or maybe, Simon, what's the craziest thing you've ever been asked before, where you were like, that's the craziest thing I've ever been asked?
I mean, I've been asked some unbelievably fantastic, brilliant, wonderful, difficult questions. The most difficult questions I get are from the military. In business, most of the questions I get asked, I've been asked before. Mm-hmm. In the military, I've been asked things like, where does revenge come from? Or how do you defeat an enemy who's really good at all the things you talk about? I mean, like, what?
Tactical.
I mean, that is so good. So good. I mean, I've been asked stupid questions before, like somebody asked me, what's my favorite beer? I didn't bother answering it because I thought it was like a total waste of time, like that's what you want to contribute, because I don't see the questions as valuable to themselves. I see every question as that the answer is to the benefit for the group. Mm-hmm. And the group doesn't give a shit about what my favorite beer is. So why did you ask,
Except that this is San Diego, which is the craft beer capital. So that here in San Diego, that would probably be actually a question.
If I was in San Diego and everyone in the audience was from San Diego.
Fair.
It's the San Diego tribe. Yep, that's right.
I was hoping you weren't going to say a question that we had asked you tonight there.
I'm having fun. But I should probably let you go, right?
We don't, I mean, where are we going to go? Outside?
I've got one more question for you, Simon. Okay. So I love reading. I encourage all our pros to read. And if you don't read, listen to the audiobook, because those are great on walks. What is another author or another book that everyone should go pick up tomorrow and just consume and study and learn?
Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It is essential reading for every human being.
Pulling it up, guys. Give me a sec.
It's Frankl. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is number one. And and I'll offer 2 documentaries as well, if you like.
Yes.
One of them is called Senna, Senna. It's a documentary about Brazilian race car driver Ayrton Senna. Even if you don't care about race car drivers, it is such a good documentary because it's about archetypes. That Ayrton Senna is somebody who does something for the passion of it, and the archetype of Alain Prost, who does it for the metrics. And what happens when you compare the infinite-minded versus the finite-minded, the person who plays only to win for themselves and the person who plays for the love of the game. Senna is magical. And the other one I would offer is called Kumare, Kumare. This guy set out to try and understand this faux guru culture. He started off making a mockumentary, and something strange happened in the middle, and I won't tell you. And it wasn't intended to be a leadership documentary, but it is actually one of the best leadership documentaries out there, even though that's not what the intention was.
That's awesome. Here's the book.
There you go. There it is.
That's the one you want. That's the one you want. Highly recommended.
Good.
Yes. Thank you again so much, Simon, for coming on, spending all this time, spending extra time with us. Super grateful. And I'm definitely going to be sending you and your team an email trying to figure out who would be that ideal
Olivia.
Season 2 first guest.
We'll find somebody for you. Thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate
you so much.
All the fun questions. And take care of yourselves and take care of each other.
Thank you, Simon.
Bye. And for those of you guys want to stay on with me, Mel, and Roland, we want to say a proper goodbye to you guys. So I'm going to...
Not goodbye. It's see you later.
a proper see you later to everyone and talk about what's to come next. We want to see your beautiful faces and energy on our screen. So be prepared for me to promote you to panelist. Roland, if you could pull up, we'll just have on deck the thing that Ben made.
And when she promotes you to panelist, it'll sort of look like your Zoom is glitched out for a second, and then you come back. But when you come back, you're like one of us on the screen.
There's Adam. Give me a second, guys, because there's a lot of us. Anna! Just give me a sec.
It's up to you if you want to be on camera, but we'd love to see you.
And if you don't want to be on camera, please do not feel pressured to be on camera. You can cut it. But we just want to.
There's Andrea who asked that great question.
I'm in my post-work relaxation mode.
Love it. Love it.
I'm only on B's. Well, we don't have to share that yet.
Oh.
Alexa, I just want to say that you are incredible, and you've been inspiring me like the last 12 weeks. From like the first video to now is just insane. So good job.
Andrea, I love working with you. God bless you.
Working with you too.
You had a really great question, probably one of the best. He was like, oh, that's tricky. I'm going to promote Cameron. I wonder if she'll come on. There's Carol, I'm promoting you. Cecilia. Chandler.
I don't think I can help you do this. I'm in there, but I don't think I have it right.
Yeah, it's worth it to us. Cindy, that's your mom, I think.
Mom.
Dan, Gary, desktop 8. Roland, are you able to help me on that side or no? I wish there was like a promote everyone.
Did Bruce make it in?
I think so.
Hey, Bruce, we see ya.
Bruce.
I'm here.
Oh my gosh.
With the grandkids.
Hey, Bonnie.
Bruce, I'm going to miss you starting off our evening saying, hey kids, Bruce from Corona here.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Alexa.
Okay, I'm on the J's.
Never got old.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to start talking, Sharon. What's been your favorite moment so far of season 1?
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Just your motivation, your energy. Alexa, you're just crazy great.
Oh, Bonnie, love you.
You guys are just so positive. Just awesome.
I feel like we've all become this one really amazing blended family, and it's so special. Like, I know everyone is in these different parts of the country, and we still show up here together. Like, it's just as much you guys as it is us and our team showing up. Like, it's truly incredible to be a part of something like this. I'm on the M's. Mark. Michelle
coming at you.
Coming.
If you make me a co-host, I can work up from the bottom.
Oh, wait, really?
Evan is waiting.
Triple click the dots on my thing.
Hold on. There's Roland. Okay.
Everybody. It's so fun.
Yeah, there's Laura, Kevin. I'm looking at who's here. Carol. Oh, look at that. Holding up your business card. Wasim, I'm so excited to see Wasim. There's Iram, Jorge. Wow, this is like so much. I wish there was I'm going to put in a pro vote to Zoom. Be like, hey, if I want to see everyone in my webinar. Okay, Scott, there's Andrew. Let's see. Mike, I got to get. There's Randy. Who are you on, Roland?
I'm just on the bottom.
Thank you.
It keeps moving on my mouse here.
I know it does.
I think my favorite part, aside from all the amazing speakers we had, was that Simon sent a painting job to one of his buddies. That was amazing. Love that. If you guys don't know what send a job is, you have Roland's cell phone number, just text him. He'll tell you all about it. It's a great way to get referrals, build those relationships like Simon said. all of the above.
It's
I'm just
Or
going to be like
chatting,
blowing up
or-
Roland's phone all the time.
Am I? Oh, there I am.
Like I'm going to be like, what's up, Roland? What's going on? What are you doing?
That's all of us. That's all of us. There's 58 of us on here right now. Oh my
Very
God.
good.
I think
Here's the Housecall Pro.
cheers to all of you guys for joining us every night or whenever nights you can. Barnes has his beer. This is compiled right now, guys, of pros, of me, Mel, Roland, and of Housecall Pro employees who also after hours, they tune in to watch so they can better talk to their pros about things that are going on in the world. Like we are truly, truly invested.
Hey, thank you guys for doing this. I can tell you that in the very beginning, if it weren't for all of the advice that we got on what was out there and how to apply for it, we never would have pivoted to offer another service line. We never would have gotten the funding that we've gotten. So it is our honor and privilege to be able to thank you guys. So really, thank you.
Oh, Laura, thank you for showing up. Okay, let me pose this question. If you had to choose
Like a dog.
one favorite episode that you'd like to share, which one it was? Who was like your favorite guest or your favorite episode over the last 12 weeks?
Simon.
That's Robin. I can tell that's Simon or Robin.
Mark Cuban was great. Mark Cuban was great.
Yeah.
Mark Cuban, yep.
I really like
Your Instagram one from a couple days ago was just really good because I needed that. So
Good. Bonnie, let me know if you have any other questions about that. I'm here. Roland's here. Natalie.
Don't ask me about Instagram. You'd have to ask my kids. I have no idea.
Instagram's important. Yeah. If you didn't get to watch
I
that
know.
one, we tried to really break down like Instagram marketing 101 and really why it's important for home service businesses and more people. And I want you guys to get a head start on it because being the first in your space is best. Also, maybe one day
Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Angela, who's been doing so much for our Instagram too, and all the cool graphics, all the guests, headshots, putting things together. Ben Freemeyer for making it look super awesome, getting the videos out there. JC, Celia, we have like Ceci. We have like
Shout out design team.
team.
We have 22 people on our core team that we've shifted from all different parts of the company to start working on this. And I hope yes, tonight is our last live show, but let's talk a bit about what's to come. So Roland, do you want to talk about the thing we're participating in next week that everyone here can get free tickets for? And we'll be there too.
Yeah, so next week's gonna be really exciting. We're gonna be participating in the Home Service Super Summit. They're free tickets. If you go to homeservicesupersummit.com, we'll post the link in here. Just go claim your free ticket. I'll be one of the speakers. Brooks will be one of the speakers, but we're like the C-list guests. We've got amazing guests on there. I feel like there's so much to learn. It's going to be 4 days long. I think there's 8 speakers every single day or 9 speakers every day. And then what we're going to do is we're going to host like a happy hour or like an after hours that's going to recap everything. So if you feel like you can't make it or see some of the things, we're going to go take notes for you guys because we have them all. We're going to do notes, and then we're going to have like a PDF that's going to have the notes from all the speakers every single day. So if you guys just go there, it's something that we're sponsoring, we're partnering, and doing with Brandon Vaughn and Frank, and they're an awesome team. So if you guys kind of like this stuff, there's going to be really topical content, home service, and it's free. There's no reason you guys shouldn't go to it. Unless you don't have time, come to after hours. We'll give you all the cheat sheets. Just like in school, when you sit next to the smart kid and you want to do your homework and you just kind of like look over your left shoulder, we'll give you that sheet.
And Michelle asked in the chat, will there be drinking involved at the happy hour? So we're going to try to put together like a fun after hours, like drinking game. You do not have to drink alcohol. You could drink LaCroix like Roland does. Also, special shout out, I don't know if you see her, so Cameron is Roland's girlfriend, and Cameron has to listen to us every single night and help us when we're having freakouts about what questions we're going to ask our guests and close us down. She's right behind Roland there.
Sorry, Cameron.
Shout out to Cameron.
Look, she's turning her camera. There's Roland. And then what you guys have to look forward to. So we are going to be launching season 2 on demand July 6th. So it'll be the first, I think, Monday after the 4th of July. Don't quote us on that, but we want this group especially to be like very involved in what we're talking about, who we're talking to. So let's continue to have these discussions. You know how to find us on Facebook. You have Roland's number. You have all of our contact info. So when we have great guests, we'll ask our core group here, like, what do you want to know? And we'll probably even make it available to you guys to like join live without like being able to.
Yes, live.
Robin. So
sorry.
It's okay. I love the passion. So I'm not going to say other than that, because that's my go-to word. We've enjoyed, and Mel, maybe you can say a few words, because this is a team that came out not of thin air, but Mel runs our people department. Roland and I do innovation, community, marketing. It's like we just decided, yep, we're going to show up here every single night and report and try and talk about important things. So Mel, I'd love to hear your final live words before we head out for the night.
Thank you. And yes, how this started was that Ian, our CEO, came to my desk during all of the Corona crazy, the early days. I was doing a daily update for our leadership team, and he came by my desk and said, Mel, I think our pros don't have a Mel. You know, they don't have a head of people. Would you be willing to do a daily update for them like you've been doing for us? And I said, sure. And that was 12 weeks ago. And so we all went to work from home days after that conversation. And this team, Alexa and Roland, has welcomed me into the online community world. Alexa helped create a Facebook account. There's been a lot of learning. So, you know, this has truly been a public service and has been an absolute delight. So we have so enjoyed you inviting us into your homes, inviting us into your businesses, sharing your stories with us. You have created the environment that people like Simon Sinek, 50 million views on, you know, his TED Talk, and he came here to talk to us. And we didn't even tell him we were going to give away some of his books. I mean, he just came here for free to talk with you, to hopefully inspire you. So the work that you do matters. And I could not be more proud of the time that we've spent together. And we've stumbled through. We haven't always been great at it. Roland's got shut down a few times here and there. But every night you guys have shown up, and we could not appreciate it more. But it's really a testament to who you are and the work that you do, that we have had such quality programming and guests along the way. And we really hope to be able to continue to serve you and your businesses in the future. So thank you so much for doing the work that you do. Thank you for doing the work.
We truly love you guys. We wouldn't show up here if we didn't. This is such an incredible community that we're all able to be a part of. And I hope we all take Simon's message of empathy and genuine care and trust into the conversations we have, into the relationships that we have, and just be kind and gentle with one another. So with that being said, Roland, you want to throw up our final slide? I'm going to play our playoff music.
We got playoff music. Oh, that's right.
Yes.
All right. I don't know what she's picked. So we're gonna find out here. All right.
Well, we had a lot of different options. Hold on. Let me mute myself really quick.
All right. She's queuing it up. I want all of you guys to put your innovation hat on. And you guys have my cell phone number. If there's someone you would like to see us have on season 2, I think we can get a hold of pretty much anyone on the planet. So at this point, text me your craziest ideas on who you want to have on for season 2.
We'll see you guys soon. The song is called This Is Not the End. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. We love ya. Have a good night.